All right, what's up, guys? Today I'm back making another tier list. Today we're going to be talking about who has the worst chins in UFC history. Now, listen, I'm not going to include every fighter ever with a bad chin, so if I miss some people, don't kill me, okay? But let's get right into it, starting off with Chris Weidman. I'm putting Chris Weidman in the B tier. Listen, Chris Weidman's been starched a few times. He's been starched by Yoel Romero. He's been starched, beat by Gegard Mousasi back in the day by TKO. That was a weird stoppage, though. Who else? Chris Weidman's been busted up and beat down by Luke Rockhold. And yeah, he's been chinned a good amount in this career, which is crazy because he started off like 13-0, and then he just went on this like chin loss streak. Yeah, he also got KO'd by Yoel Romero. So I think Chris Weidman in the B tier is a fair placement. And yeah, let's move right on to the next person. We're going to pluck out Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler in the B tier as well. Listen, Michael Chandler's pretty chinny. He gets dropped a lot. He got dropped versus Justin Gaethje once, and he got TKO'd pretty badly by Charles Oliveira. He got knocked out a bunch of times in Bellator. Listen, low IQ Mike, he's chinny. He gets dropped. He gets hit, okay? We're not going to sit here and pretend like he doesn't because he's exciting. Michael Chandler in the B tier. I don't think there's any argument against it, brother. Let's move on to the next person. Greg Hardy. The Prince of War, the Prince of being KO'd. We're putting Greg Hardy in the A tier. If you've watched this guy's career outside the UFC, bro just goes and he's been fighting in like triad combat and boxing matches. He just been getting KO'd left and right after leaving the UFC on a 3 KO loss streak. So this dude's been KO'd by Tuivasa, by Spivak, by Marcin Tybura on the ground. Not KO'd, but TKO'd. But he was KO'd by Tai Tuivasa, which is beautiful to watch because no one likes Greg Hardy. But outside the UFC, he's been KO'd a bunch, so got to put him in A tier. That chin is shot. And yeah, maybe he should hang it up, or maybe he should just keep getting knocked out for our pleasure to see. So yeah, let's move on to another fighter, Robert Whittaker. I'm putting Robert Whittaker in the C tier. Listen, Robert Whittaker's chinny. We know that. Sometimes he can take a good shot, like that head kick against Paulo Costa. Other times it seems like he gets dropped by Augusta Win. He was knocked down by elbow by Darren Till. He was rocked by Cannonier in the third round in their fight. He was KO'd by Israel Adesanya in their first fight. KO'd, more like TKO'd. So Robert Whittaker, he's known to be a little chinny. He's been knocked down before, but still one of the best fighters in the world. He just, that chin sometimes gives out on him. So we got to give my boy Robert Whittaker some respect in C tier. If you're in C tier in this video, your chin is okay. You just do tend to get dropped a bit, but you can recover and come back. You're not like knocked out on the floor. So yeah, let's move on to the next fighter. We're going to go with Marlon Moraes. I'm putting Marlon Moraes in the S tier. Listen, this dude ended his career on like a 7-fight knockout loss streak, which is insane. I mean, before he left the UFC, he got finished by Marab, and then he got KO'd. He got KO'd by Rob Font. He got KO'd by Corey Sandhagen. He got KO'd by Song Yadong. And then he went to the PFL. He also got KO'd by Henry Cejudo, which started it all. Then he went to the PFL and got KO'd a bunch there. So I'm glad he retired. Listen, Marlon Moraes, if you get knocked down that easy at 135, your chin is shot. So definitely S tier. I don't think there's any argument against that. Let's move on to another fighter on this list, Luke Rockhold. I'm putting Luke Rockhold in the A tier. Listen, a lot of people will say, dude, Luke can take some big shots, man. He's just getting hit by hammers. Listen, bro. Luke Rockhold is chinny. He got KO'd by Michael Bisping in 2016 after being too cocky. We know it. Michael Bisping isn't known to have crazy power. Sure, he has some TKOs and KOs on his record, but he's not known to have crazy power, and he KO'd Luke. And then Luke Rockhold got KO'd by Vitor Belfort in his UFC debut, I believe. He got TKO'd by a wheel kick, and then he got KO'd by Yoel Romero. So yeah, Luke Rockhold has got some KO losses on his record, so let's not pretend like he doesn't. And yeah, A tier for Luke Rockhold. I'm not going to put him in S because he can take a decent shot, but A tier for Luke. Let's move on to another fighter on this list. We're going to go with the Reem. I'm putting the Reem at A tier. Listen, I know it's heavyweight and anybody can knock you out, but it's no secret that Alistair Overeem across combat sports, kickboxing, and UFC, and just pride in general, he's been knocked out a bunch of times. He gets hit. He crumbles to the ground. He can go out cold. The Francis Ngannou uppercut KO was one of the scariest KOs I've ever seen. I thought he was going to start convulsing, but he didn't. He's okay. Yeah, the Reem in the A tier. He's been KO'd by like half the UFC heavyweight roster. What can I say? It is heavyweight, so I can't put him in the S tier. But Let's move on to another fighter. We're going with Beneil Dariush. Listen, I'm putting Beniel in the A tier. Now, Beneil Dariush recently, his chin in his last 2 fights, it ain't looking too good, man. He's had a decent chin for a long time. I know he got KO'd by Edson Barboza and Alexander Hernandez, which is not a good look. And then he gets KO'd. That was back in the day. Now he got KO'd by Oliveira, and then he just got chinned by Arman Tsarukyan, who has pillow hands, by the way. Arman Tsarukyan, not known for his power, but Beniel did go quite a long time without being KO'd, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and put B for Beniel in the B tier. He probably could be A tier, but I'll put him in the B tier for now. Let's move on to another fighter on this list. Listen, Dominic Cruz. I'm putting Dominic Cruz in the C tier. He's been finished by, who was it? He's been finished by Henry Cejudo and Marlon Vera. So, and throughout his career, you know, he's had the movement. He's been dropped by Cody Garbrandt back in the day, but I don't think Dominic Cruz has like an awful chin. I just think his movement style is getting figured out, and he's been able to get cracked a little bit more, which shows that his style is not that good. But Dominic Cruz, he has been KO'd twice, especially that was a brutal KO by Marlon Vera. So we'll put him in the C tier. Respect for the legend. I probably could put him in B, but I won't. So yeah, let's move on to another fighter on this list. Bro, Johnny Walker. You already know Johnny Walker's going S tier. Listen, I know it's light heavyweight, but Johnny Walker's been KO'd by everything from Augusta Win to a Feather to everybody in the light heavyweight division. He got knocked out by Corey Anderson. Bro, Corey Anderson has pillow hands back in the day. That's what started it all. Corey Anderson knocked him out, and then he got knocked out by Jamal Hill, and then he got knocked out by Volkanovski, then he got knocked out by Magomed Ankalaev. Like, Johnny Walker's just getting knocked out. Everybody's taking a turn. Like, you get a knockout. And then there's a clip that just resurfaced of him getting KO'd by like a teenager and sparring and boxing from a long time ago. So, yeah, Johnny Walker's always been chinny. He doesn't have the best defense, which leaves him open for power shots on the chin. So I know a lot of people will say it's light heavyweight, you can't put him in S. I'm putting him at S. Johnny Walker's chin is shot, brother. So I don't want to hear it, okay? Let's move on to the next fighter on this list. Frankie Edgar. Bro, listen, I'm putting Frankie Edgar in the A tier. Now, if you asked me 5 years ago, I probably would have put Frankie in the C tier maybe, or I'm not even on this list. But towards the end of his career, Frankie Edgar was getting KO'd. He got KO'd by Brian Ortega. That started it all. Then he got KO'd by the Korean Zombie. Then he got KO'd by Corey Sandhagen, one of the most brutal front flying knee finishes I've ever seen. And then he got KO'd by Chris Gutierrez, and then he retired. So, yeah, towards the end of his career, Frankie Edgar's chin was shot. It was cracked. I mean, look at it, bro. It's kind of pointy. Anytime you see a fighter with those pointy chins, you gotta watch out for him. They might be hitting the floor a little bit more than your average fighter. But, yeah, Frankie Edgar in the A tier. Let's move on. Bro, Curtis Blaydes, listen. I'm putting Curtis Blaydes in the B tier. It's heavyweight. I get it. Anyone can get knocked out by anyone, but Curtis Blaydes, he's going in the B tier. I think he deserves it. He's been KO'd by Francis Ngannou twice. Who else has he been KO'd? He's been knocked out by Sergey Pavlovich, knocked out by Derek Lewis, knocked out by Tom Aspinall. Listen, no shames. These are some of the best UFC heavyweights ever and with the most knockout power. But Curtis Blaydes, bro, whenever that chin gets hit clean, he's going down. So I think B tier is fair. Hopefully, I don't see him get KO'd anymore because it's sad to watch whenever you see someone get brutally KO'd over and over. But yeah, definitely going to go in B tier. Let's move on. Matt Schnell. Matt Schnell is going in the S tier. Listen, if you're fighting at flyweight and you're getting chinned as much as Matt Schnell is, you belong in S tier. He's been chinned like 4 or 5 times at flyweight. I'm going to be honest, I am a casual. I haven't watched too many of his fights, but I know he got KO'd by Pantoja. He got KO'd by Urseg and one other fighter recently, but I can't remember. But yeah, Matt Schnell, like I said, if you're getting cracked and dropped and knocked out at flyweight, your chin is done. So yeah, you're going S tier, buddy. And yeah, that's that, brother. S tier for Matt Schnell. Deal with it. Let's move on to another S tier. I'm going back-to-back S tiers. I'm feeling it. James Vick. Bro, James Vick, easy S tier. Actually, dude, listen, if you saw that recent knockout of James Vick, he went into a coma. That was quite sad. Like, I really hope James Vick and his family talks to him. James Vick's family talks to him and said, hey, man, like, don't fight again. Like, the dude just went into like a coma, I believe. But listen, his UFC career, he got KO'd by Justin Gaethje. He got KO'd by Nico Price with like an up kick. I think he got KO'd by Andre Fialho after the UFC, and then he goes and does these other fights outside the UFC and gets KO'd a bunch. Listen, James Vick, bro, if you ever see this video, please don't ever fight in combat sports again, bro. Protect your body, protect your brain. I know it's a meme to laugh at James Vick getting KO'd, but bro, it comes to a point where it's not even funny anymore. So, yeah, let's leave James Vick out of the combat scene. Let's move on to another fighter on this list, Jimi Manuwa. Listen, Jimi Manuwa in the B tier. Like I said, it's light heavyweight. It's a little bit heavier. He wasn't getting KO'd around the octagon like Johnny Walker, but he was chinned a bunch of times. He got chinned by Rumble, chinned by Alexander Gustafsson, and then who else? He got knocked out brutally by Alexander Rakic, and there was one more I can't remember. But yeah, Jimi Manuwa, not known to have the best chin, but like I said, it is light heavyweight. Anybody can put your lights out, so I'm going to put him in the B tier because he was a respectable light heavyweight. You know, he had his moments, but he did get KO'd a good bit. So yeah, he's got to be there. Let's move on to another S tier, bro. We're going Cody Garbrandt in the S tier. Listen, Cody Garbrandt in the S tier, we know it. He went down to flyweight and got KO'd by Kai Kara-France, bro. I know Kai Kara-France has power, but Cody's known to be chinny. He got KO'd by TJ Dillashaw 2 times in a row, and then he got KO'd by who else? He got KO'd by TJ Dillashaw twice in a row. Then he got KO'd by Pedro Munoz. Then he got KO'd by Kai Kara-France, and he's chinny, dude. Like, he got busted up by Rob Font, who's not known for the most power in the world. So Cody Garbrandt, they don't call it like if your nickname is being changed from No Love to No Chin, you got to be S tier. Like, I don't know what other way to put it. So Cody Garbrandt in the S tier. And yeah, let's move on. All of our favorite fighter, Volk. Listen, bro, Volk's going in the C tier. Volk, he's kind of been chinny his whole career. If you look at his career, he was dropped by Chad Mendes 2 times in their fight, and then he was dropped by Max Holloway in their second fight twice, and then he was dropped and finished by Makhachev, granted on short notice in their second fight, and then he was KO'd by Ilia Topuria. Listen, bro, Volk's one of my favorite fighters of all time, but he has to go in the C tier on this list. Throughout his whole career, his chin has never been like iron. So yeah, he's like the Whittaker of chins in terms of the lighter weight classes. Like, he has a chin and he can take some shots, but it can get cracked. So Volk in the C tier, I think is fair. Let's move on to another fighter. Derrick Brunson in the C tier. Listen, I'm not going to put Derrick Brunson in the B or A. I was going to, but if you look at a lot of Derrick Brunson's KOs, it's not that he got like KO'd brutally, is that he's so sloppy and like fatigued on the feet that he just like ends up getting hit with some shots until he goes out. It's never like a one-shot KO with Derrick Brunson. He got KO. He got knocked out by Izzy. He got brutally knocked out by Jared Cannonier. He got finished back in the day by Robert Whittaker, Yoel Romero. So he's been finished, but like I said, it's always like some sloppiness from him because he's fighting like he's underwater on the feet, and he just gets his head drilled through the canvas. So yeah, we'll put him in the C tier. Moving on, Dominic Reyes. Listen, I'm putting Dominic Reyes in the A tier. Good comeback win versus Dustin Jacoby, but listen, I know he got KO'd by Jan Blachowicz, and then he got KO'd by Yeri, and then he got KO'd by Ryan Spann. But bro, like, I don't think his chin is as bad as Johnny Walker's. I don't. I think Dominic Reyes' chin is a little bit better than Johnny Walker, so put him at A. We'll put Dominic Reyes at the top of A tier. How about that? Top of A tier for Dominic Reyes. He probably could go S tier, but he got a comeback win. Let's see if his chin can hold up. Maybe in a future video, if I ever remake this, he can be S tier. But for now, I'm gonna give some respect to Reyes. Put him in the A tier. We all know he beat John Jones. You know, it's a common thing for me to throw a shot at John Jones every video. So there you go. Let's move on to another fighter on this list. Anthony Smith. Listen, I'm putting Anthony Smith in the C tier. I know he just got finished by Khalil Roundtree. That was on short notice. But Anthony Smith, kind of similar to Derrick Brunson. He just gets really sloppy, and he ends up getting like leg kicked and finished on the ground against Magomed Ankalaev. He gets, granted, he did get brutally finished by Khalil Roundtree. Who else finished him? Glover Teixeira was knocking his teeth out on the ground and eventually finished him, which was brutal. But it wasn't like Anthony Smith typically doesn't like get like knocked down and brutally KO'd. He gets like knocked down and then TKO'd on the ground. Listen, I know some people are going to say having Anthony Smith on the same list as Volkanovski is criminal, but listen, bro. Anthony Smith's going to be at the bottom of C tier. Volk's at the top of C. No, Volk's going to be at the bottom of C tier. Anthony Smith will be at the top of it. And that's that, bro. If you want to move Anthony Smith up to A or B, that's fair. I'm not going to argue with you, so don't go run in the comments and talk a whole bunch of smack about it, okay? Next up on this list, I'm putting Arlovski in the A tier. Listen, towards the end of his career, Arlovski kind of fixed his chin. Like, he started becoming more defensively sound, but man, in the beginning of his UFC run to the middle of it, he was getting KO'd by everybody. Francis Ngannou, Stipe Miocic, Dontel Mays, I can't. Arlovski's been fighting in the UFC so long. There's no way I can remember all of his knockout losses. But Arlovski, he just got released from the UFC. He's 45 years old. But yeah, respect, man. He went through his he went through late 30s to mid 40s, only getting KO'd like once or twice. So Arlovski's gonna go in the A tier. I can't put him in S tier. It's not like every time his chin got touched, he went down. He actually withheld a bunch of shots. But A tier because he's been KO'd so many times. So yeah, let's move on to another fighter. Phill Hawes, bro. I'm putting Phill Hawes at A tier. Listen, he's been KO'd by Ikram Aliskerov. He's been KO'd by Chris Curtis. And he's been brutally KO'd by Aliskerov, Curtis. Who was the other person that KO'd Phill Hawes? Shit, I can't remember. But you get it. Phill Hawes has been KO'd out cold a bunch of times. And it's always brutal. But I can't say his chin is as bad as the ones in S tier. So he's got to go at the bottom of A. I think that's fair. And yeah, Phill Hawes, dude, hold on. I want to remember the third person. Who he got KO'd by Aliskerov. He got KO'd by Chris Curtis. And then who was the other one that KO'd him? Let me know in the comments, bro. My brain's shooting blanks. I know he got KO'd another time. Second to last fighter on this list, Charles Oliveira. Got to put him in C tier. Listen, we'll put Charles above Volk. Charles, he definitely gets dropped. He got dropped by Gaethje. He got dropped by Poirier. He got dropped and finished by Makhachev. Charles just hasn't. He got dropped by Michael Chandler. He just has insane recovery, and he always tends to come back unless it's against Makhachev and get the finish. But yeah, Charles is definitely chinny. He gets dropped in nearly every fight. It's so stressful to watch a Charles Oliveira fight because you're just waiting any fucking second for him to get dropped and KO'd. But he withstands it. My boy comes out with a submission most times, but not recently. Like to see Charles knocked down soon. But let's move on to the last person on this list. One of the worst UFC fighters and overweight UFC fighters in history, and also worst chins in UFC history, Chris Daukaus. I'm putting Chris Daukaus in the S tier. Listen, I know it's at the heavier weight classes, but Chris Daukaus should have been fighting at middleweight or welterweight. Bro is like 2 or 3 weight classes above, just walking around with donuts flopping around his stomach. He got KO'd by literally everybody. Jairzinho Rosenstruck KO'd him. Khalil Roundtree KO'd him. Shit, I could probably KO Chris Daukaus at this point. But I think Derek Lewis KO'd him and one other person. Yeah, Chris Daukaus, his chin is awful. I got to put him in the S tier. You could probably, there's going to be the arguments in the comments that you can't put heavyweight at S tier because heavyweights can get knocked out by anybody. I get that argument, but bro, Chris Daukaus was going down from everything. Like I said, a gust of wind, a feather, you tap him on the shoulder, he might be going down. So you got to put him in S tier for me. This is the list, you guys, the worst chins in UFC history. Let me know if I'm a casual for the way I rank these. Let me know what you would switch around, and who else would you add to this list? I know a lot of people would probably add like Chuck Liddell and some other old legends. I didn't include too many like super old heads. I had a couple in here, but yeah, this is the list. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate all the new subscribers, all the people watching and liking the videos. I'm gonna keep the content coming daily. So yeah, y'all keep tuning in. Thank you for watching. Peace.